Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Esoteric Agenda. I'm Roger Hanson, your host, here with me with my co host, Mark Edworthy, and our panel as well with Auto X, V, and my brother, Robert Hanson. Um, Tonight we are going to do something pretty cool. I usually don't get into the hip and cool stuff when it comes to esoteric stuff. I stick with the traditional stuff. Like if I was to do my actual topics, I would have gone from where we've been so far into talking about the the Fibonacci. I always have a hard time saying that. But tonight I wanted to get into a more popular one because I was going to bring it up earlier when Mr. Robot was coming in, and uh, I was going to talk about the Emerald Tablets, and then we've been postponing it for a lot of episodes because we were covering some more interesting topics that were related to some of the stuff we had discussed before. But finally, we did make it to the Emerald Tablets. Um, is that Tan coming in finally, or somebody come in and out?
Yeah, you're getting some weird sort of
Feedback.
feedback from your mic, I think.
Is it from my mic?
I think so.
Okay, Robert, mute out real quick.
No, he is. He is.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
So, with that being said, I guess we can get into the Emerald Tablets. Now, let me make a distinction too, because we have two different kinds of Emerald Tablets that we're talking about. Now, there's one that's called the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean, and that one was done by Morris Doriel, which we can talk about if you guys want to. Okay. But we're also going to talk about the actual Emerald Tablets of Hermes, which is the one that predates that one, which is back in the Middle Ages. Now, the one with the taught that the Atlantean was by like Morris Durrell, who claimed during 1925 visit to the Great Pyramids of Giza that he discovered like a set of ancient emerald tablets that belonged to an the Egyptian deity Thoth or Thoth, however you pronounce it. I know a lot of people do it in a lot of different ways. I usually say Thoth or Thoth or Thoth, whichever way you want to say it. But he claimed that uh, Thoth was the king of Atlantis, basically. And then he also made the claim that he had translated the text, which he published as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, the Atlantean. Now, like I said, I'm not wanting you to confuse that with the medieval Hermetic text called the Emerald Tablets, which is what I'm getting into now. I can give you basic history of the tablets so you guys can know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, the history of the tablets, which is largely summarized from Needham 1980 and Halmyard in 1957, is probably the first um, tablet when the first publications for the modern text came out. Now, the tablet most likely first appeared in the West in editions of the Pseudo-Aristotelian Secretum Secretorum, which was actually a translation of the Kadib Sur al Asar. It's a book of advice to kings, which was translated into Latin by Johannes Hespelacesus in circa 1140 and by Philip of Tripoli circa 1243. Now, other translations of the tablet may have been made during the same period by Plato of Tivoli and Hugh of Sintala, perhaps from different sources. Now, I've covered a little bit about the Katib Sur al Asar, which was a book that was basically written up as advice for people who were kings and nobles, how they should behave around their subjects. And that's actually a pretty good subject that I think we've already discussed. Um, it was printed up in as a different name than that, but that's basically what it was actually about. And this is kind of like a continuum of that. Now, the date of the Katib Sur al Asar is uncertain, though circa 800 has been suggested, and it's not clear when the tablet became part of this work. Now, Homyard was the first to find another early Arabic version, which was called Ruska, and that was found in the 12th century, recension claiming to have been dictated by Sergius of Nablus in the Kitab Estaquas al-Us al-Thani, the second book of the Elements of Foundation. And that is attributed to Jabir. Now, shortly after, Ruska found another version appended to the Kitab Sur al-Kalika Wasanat al-Tabi, which is the Book of Secret, the Book of the Secret of Creation and the Art of Nature. I apologize for messing the Arabic wording up, but I wanted to put that out there because it's important. If you're really into this stuff, there's a lot of copies of these books that are written in English versions, which aren't the originals. So if you don't know the names of them, you'll most likely get something that's been basically rewritten. It's not accurate. So if you guys need the names like pasted, I could put it in the chat for you later on if you want to check them out. But the English versions is the Book of the Secret of Creation and the Art of Nature. That's the second one, and the first one is the second book of the Elements of Foundation. And the Book of the Secrets of Creation and the Art of Nature is also known as the Katib Baliyus al-Hakim fil Ilam, the Book of Belinus, the Wise, on the Causes. Now, it has been proposed that this book was written. This book was written and may have been written as early as 650 and was definitely finished by the Caliphate of Al-Mamun between 813 to 833. Scholars have seen similarities between this book and the Syriac Book of Treasures written by Job of Edessa in the 9th century. And more interesting, the Greek writings of the Bishop Nemesius of Emesis in Syria from the mid 4th century. However, though this. Hold up. Okay, you there, Otto?
Yeah, sorry, I just came inside.
Oh, okay. It was making weird noises.
That was closing the door. Sorry.
So the more the the Greek writings of the bishop Nemesis of Ephesus and in Syria from the mid 4th century. However, though this suggests a possible Syriac source, none of these writings contain the tablet. Now, Belinus is
Well, I was
usually,
going to say the original tablets were considered untranscribable.
yeah, exactly. Now, Belinus, I believe, is usually identified with Apollonius of Tyna, but there's little evidence to connect him with the Katib, Balabius. And even if there was, the story implies that Belinus found the tablets rather than wrote it. Now, the thing about it is they don't really know who the author is to this book. They have their ideas on it, but they really don't know who wrote it even. Like they know that the like you said, V, they don't know well, the original text too. I believe the original text to this is gone too, isn't it?
I don't know if they wrote. You mean the original tablet?
Yeah, the original tablet and everything. It's gone, isn't it?
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it is not extant as far as I know. Nobody is. It'd be great to find a copy of that though in a tomb or something.
Well, the original tablet itself was supposedly translated in the Middle Ages.
Right?
So, like, I don't think they actually have found any emerald tablet that actually.
No, no, I don't think so. I was looking at the translation on Wikipedia, and it really reminds me of Taoism. I wonder if there was some influence.
Well, the Nag Hammadi is where a lot of this um, comes. See, and this is the weird part, like with the Nag Hammadi. All right, now they say
Oh
that
yes, the Nag Hammadi library. Yes, love it.
okay. That's really what sticks out to me more than anything else. Like I can connect it to what you're saying too there, but if you really take a look at the Nag Hammadi, all right. Now they're trying to say that a lot of that text was lost during that time period, and it was just rediscovered within the last 200-300 years with archaeology. But you can
Thanks
clear.
to the Catholic Church and the Crusades.
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I don't think they were really lost because you can see them. They may have been altered, may have been watered down, but you can still see the writings historically in the Middle Ages too. It's just they've been changed. You know what I mean? Like for me, when I go through this stuff, I'm seeing the Nag Hammadi big time. I don't know. That's just me though.
Well, I'm glad we found the original text, and you know that was recently discovered. That's great. I'm glad the Inquisition and the Crusades didn't destroy everything.
Under the Pope's the place, he has some libraries under there full of rare manuscripts and all that no one's ever seen. So it could be something down there as well too.
And well, you can't leave China out either. Okay,
Well,
this is
yeah.
this is kind of the stuff that Otto was talking about right there too, like with China. Like you can't leave it out because it's definitely there. And then like, but what I'm getting at, like with a lot of the stuff that comes out of China and even in Tibet, India's got their own little thing going with the Indo-European stuff, but they have a little bit of it too, where you can see some of the Nag Hammadi in the Middle East kind of, you know,
These ideas are, the ideas keep going, and you see how they're expressed at different times.
mm-hmm.
There's an old saying, nothing is really lost. but the transmission can be interrupted. And I was actually thinking about the so-called secret Vatican archives not long ago.
That's what I'm
Apparently,
talking about.
one of the things that happened was when Napoleon the First conquered Italy, including the Papal States. Supposedly, he took a huge amount of the Vatican records, secret archives, and stuff back to France, back to Paris. And according to at least one story I've read, that there was such confusion at one point with all this that all sorts of weird, strange, arcane documents from like centuries ago were just basically lost, wound up in like, used paper marks and things like that. So people were coming up with all sorts of weird documents just popping up all over the place. And of course, that creates a wonderful field for forgery. Oh yeah, this must have been part of the secret Vatican archives. The ink is still wet. A miracle! Look, it's an ancient text. But yeah,
Yeah.
there are still manuscripts to be discovered. I think there are still things to be found.
Well, I know a lot of the scholars today are really looking at it again, and they're coming out. They're considering that this tablet may be one of the earliest of all the alchemical works that have survived. You know what I mean? Because um, well, first of all, you take a look at the whole thing about the emerald tablets, the name emerald, and where the word comes from. You know what I mean? And
Right?
you were talking about the Greeks. Well, if you look at both the Greeks and the Egyptians, they used the term, and when they used the term, it was usually translated like emeralds for like green granite, or perhaps like green jasper.
Right?
You know. Now, in the medieval times, the emerald tablets was usually referred to like the tablets of the Gothic kings of Spain, or the Sacro Catino. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's a dish.
Oh,
It was said to belong to the Queen of Sheba.
oh,
Well,
that's getting
I'm
into
thinking
Holy
that there
Grail
might be
territory.
something.
Mm-hmm.
I think there might be something like uh, very esoteric about that, because we prize jade, we prize the emeralds. Wizard of Oz, you go, for enlightenment, you go to the Emerald City, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where the
Oh
wizard
yeah.
is. I think that's sort of like an analog for the Trismegistus guy.
Hmm.
Well, the whole thing with the Queen of Sheba, though, that all is supposed to be related to having been used like at the Last Supper,
Yeah.
and it was supposed to have been made out of emerald. Uh, it was made of green glass.
Yeah. This is like Holy Grail territory.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it was interesting. Um, just that whole continuum of a holy vessel, which you can trace back to Celtic ideas. The word Grail comes from the Creole, which is a Celtic word meaning a container. And if you trace it back far enough, it's related to ancient Celtic ideas of the cult of the head, because they were headhunters. My Celtic ancestors were indeed blue painted feathered headhunters. Um,
Does that have something
and
to do with like the krill shrimp or something like
I
that?
think so, yeah, yeah. But it was a rare delicacy. But yeah, for most headhunters, the taking of a head is a highly spiritual activity. In a lot of cultures we study today, um, I'm thinking of the one culture where before you were declared a man, before you could like take a wife and have a family and everything, you had to go out and take the head of an enemy. You would bring the head back to your home, and this head would be the spirit of that warrior that you killed would be reborn as your son, as your child. You had to take a life before you had the right to start procreating and creating new life. Very interesting way of looking at it. Of course, we don't know what the ancient Celtic peoples thought, but it's interesting to
You
look
want to
at
talk about
cultures today
ancient
that do that.
traditions? You want to talk about ancient traditions to bring back? Forget the beards. We need to bring that back.
Oh yeah, head hunting, sure. Why not? It's possible. Nothing ever. There's nothing new under the sun. You never know what's going to make a comeback as a fashion.
Is that from that area from
Well,
like Sweden and
population
Denmark?
control.
Is that from Sweden and Denmark? What you're talking about? That area?
Oh, the headhunting. These were the Celts. So like Ireland, Scotland, Britain in general, Gaul. What today they'd call France, and Spain. They called it Iberia or Celt Iberia.
Well,
These are people that spoke Celtic languages and shared a common culture, but otherwise weren't really politically unified or anything. Just the opposite.
okay, because I was wondering,
Well,
cause,
you want to
what
talk
during
about?
what time was this? Because Norway and all of them merged together in like the 1400s all the way up to the 17.
Yeah, this is like the 400 BC. This is like this is like pre-Roman Celtics kind of stuff.
Well, I mean,
Mm.
you want to talk
Uh,
about like Europe. Europe is the smallest continent, right? So Europe has, I would arguably say, the most bloody history when it comes to warfare. I think it's just population control in a way, built in.
during that
Limited
time,
resources. Europe is the least resourceful continent out of every continent on the planet. So fighting over everything, I mean, it's just war after war after war after war in European history.
have anyone ever looked up and see? I'm curious about this one because someone was saying that during a time of when Egypt was running real big and they were real strong, that they had dogs that they used as well for part of the warfare.
Huh.
That
Don't think that has ever been proven.
well, I know that's what I was asking because I heard of it. I didn't know if that had any, does it show anything of that? Because
Yeah.
different,
Right now we're talking about the Emerald Tablets, so
yeah.
it's I mean,
Where does Emerald tablets come from? I mean, from what
well,
Hey
well,
guys, I have to depart for now, but I will hopefully be back a little later. But I have to take my leave for now. Something came up, but I shall return, God willing.
okay. I we
You
should
guys will
be
be at it for a while.
yeah
Yeah, you guys
we
will be
should
at it
be
for a while. Okay, yeah. I have to. I got it. I'll be back.
all right.
Bye.
Okay, bye bye.
But yeah, right now we're discussing like the Emerald Tablets and stuff.
Well, okay.
So what
Where
no,
do they
well,
come
hold
from?
on. Did you have anything to say about this? Because are you still there?
Well, I'm thinking because I mean, it has had its influence in, in history. I mean, you bring up the Nag Hammadi Library.
Mhm.
I would say, I mean, even the Knights Templar. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
the Emerald Tablets and Gnosticism was a great influence on the Knights Templar. These uh, Christian, these Catholics, and they wanted to say that the Knights Templar were devil worshippers because they have these animal-headed deities from the old religions, and they have this amalgamation. Everybody knows the Baphomet illustrations, and completely demonized. You, I mean, these Christians, they demonized everything. They didn't even know what it even symbolized. For example, Baphomet. I mean, when you see the picture of Baphomet sitting on top of a cube with his legs crossed, it's symbolism. It's not an actual literal devil or demon. It's just symbolism, which represents the cube represents the world, the third dimension, our reality, and sitting on top of it means the domination of it by man because it had human legs. The torso, where it had a spinning sort of wheel thing, well, that's basically the condition of man, right? The spiritual confliction, and but it's supposed to be evolution, where you have the human chest with, yes, breasts, which means that we're supposed to nurture our nature, which is why you have the goat head. Nature represents the goat head. And so, of course, you have the hand pointing up and the other one pointing down, which we come back to as above, so below. To destroy, to create. That is what that means. But no, it's Satan, and all this ignorant stuff. So yeah, I mean, same thing with a lot of other iconography, and it's just a shame that we lost so much knowledge because of the ignorance of the dominating religion at the time.
You were saying that about destruction and rebirth. That it reminds me of that part in India, that one with the god that has she, she does the thing of the dance of destruction and rebirth. That's what it pops up about that, because you were saying it too about that, and I thought, and that library that was just that one that in historic times that was destroyed by the I can't pronounce that group long time ago. We talk about that. Me and Roger does. I can't think of that group or it, but it's a library that had a lot of books in it and all that, and all of the other group nationalities would go there and look at it and put their information into the books as well. I
You're
just can't
talking
think
about
of it.
Alexandra.
Huh?
Are you talking about Alexandra?
I think so.
Yeah.
And because I remember that because they all that information, all that came up
Yeah,
destroyed.
you're talking about the Library of Alexandria, and
Yeah.
even that's kind of weaving into this too, because like what B was talking about and how the Christians were the destruction of the Library of Alexandria was, and Mark will say that it's conjecture, which it is, but it's just I mean, for me, I see that as just straight up Christian freaking destruction. They went in there and they purely had the intention of destroying that library because Eusebius was the one who was actually responsible for a lot of the murders and the atrocities that the Christians did on the pagans during that time period. Hypatia is a good example of that. They took Hypatia, who was probably one of the wisest freaking scientists during that time period. They drug her out in the street, dismembered her in the middle of the street, and then burned her body. Okay, this is the kind of stuff they did. They were their entire goal during that time period was to destroy anything that they believed that was freaking heretical against the Christian church, and a lot of information was lost. So yeah, I do agree with that. That's a good point. And the Hindu goddess that you were talking about, who's associated with the cosmic dance of destruction and creation, is Kali. So
Yes,
just to point
Kali,
that out.
I was trying to
the
remember the
cohort
name. Like,
of Shiva.
Well, Kali especially is important too because you start getting into, if you want to get into modern esoteric, you start looking at the fact that Kali is actually portrayed on a statue in front of CERN. That
Yes.
that kind of brings things into perspective a little bit. You know what I mean? So,
Well, I mean, they actually. So funny thing. I don't know if you guys know about this, but they actually performed pagan Hindu rituals there in front of the statue, and they wanted to play it off as a joke. However, they're there destroying atoms. They're destroying particles, and yeah, it actually fits. Yes, they want to give birth to something by destroying things, and if that's the way they think they're gonna do it, then I mean that's fine, as long as they don't create a black hole and suck a planet.
We call like Norwegians. They have that thing about fight during the day, come back to life and eat at night, and then refight again and die. And like
you're talking about Valhalla.
yeah,
No,
there's some.
reincarnation is interesting when it comes. Like you have different interpretations of it. Um, the destruction thing always sticks out to me when it comes to it because like me and Otto was even talked about even when like people who ascend to Deva to Deva, okay, even their time as a Deva comes to an end. Does that make sense? Like they don't stay in the Deva realm. And I know Otto doesn't like hearing the term realm, but I mean I've always heard the term realm being used.
It's a realm
You know what I mean?
for sure.
It's like samsara. You know, samsara is different levels of beings. Like you have the hungry ghosts, and then you have the devas, which is up on top, and it actually originated out of the Hindus. None of this came from the Buddhist beliefs. It was the Hindu belief system that where this came from. You know, and the deva, even their time in the deva realm comes to an end. It's everything just dissolves and vanishes, and they're reincarnated back into our mortal realm where we're at. So even Davis have to become mortal again, and that has to do with rebirth, and it has to do with destruction. So you have that cycle that's taking place there. You know what I mean? That's one thing that really sticks out to me when it comes to Kali and all of that. So, but yeah, that is a pretty interesting stuff. And I mean, when it comes to these emerald tablets, you can see it there too. And I try to stay away from the whole religious aspects of it when it comes to looking at this stuff and kind of look at it from and like an outsider's point of view.
What is that emerald tablet? What are they from?
That's what
The
we're trying to tell you. There's really no, there's no official, there's no official source of where it came from.
I mean, we can assume that it came from Egypt,
well,
as the primary god is Thoth, the god of knowledge.
no, but I mean the
So
tablet.
Well, hold on there. Let me. Now, Thoth is actually an interesting situation. See, if you go according to the teachings when it comes to Thoth, Thoth was actually an outsider who came to Egypt and taught the Egyptians math and science and writing. Okay, but he wasn't originally from Egypt. He was an outsider, and he was actually Tawatis from the from
Well,
the from the Phoenicians up in around Canaan.
well, I was gonna say Canaanites.
Yeah,
So yes, which is right next door to Egypt, and part of Egypt. So, but a lot of these gods were uh, inducted to the pantheon.
I'm thinking he was more.
There's only few primary ones.
I would actually say he was
Yeah,
Hittite, to be honest. because the Hittites they seem to have like a lot of the Egyptian and the Greeks as no, as well as the Babylonian teachings. Like you can see it all
Well,
over
Rome
the
wasn't the first empire. The Egyptians had their empire as well. So yes, you're going to have incorporations of these neighboring nations to the culture, of course.
What country was that before Egypt? They were there before Egypt was built. It was on. I seen the video of it, and it was a small civilization there before Egypt was built.
well, that's kind of controversial. That you're talking about before, and it was actually a desert. Before the shift in the plates, where the land had like you know how there's the Alps. The Alps was caused because of shift in the plates that pushed Africa up farther into the European Alps or the European thing, and it caused the Alps to rise up. And that in turn made freaking Egypt turn into a desert land where before it was actually a tropical region. And
Hmm.
they're still trying to. You're going into like the Scorpion King era,
Well,
maybe even before that. So
it was on YouTube. It was about
I'll stop
it was
watching YouTube. I keep telling you, you got to stop watching YouTube. Stop watching Facebook. That stuff is just
There's nothing wrong with having
whatever,
a
dude.
university
you
degree,
guys told me to
but
get.
you got to make sure you spread out your research.
Yeah.
Yeah,
YouTube's a good, can
yeah,
be
but
a good source.
I can only go to places that I can hear it from. You know, if it doesn't speak about it, I don't really know.
Well, I mean, the best thing for you to do when it comes to that stuff is to look at the people that you're watching, and especially when you go to Facebook and you see a bunch of nonsense being just completely thrown out at you. You know what I'm saying? Don't. There's a good chance that you don't want to be there listening to these people. You know what I mean? Like, go to people
Again,
freaking
I said YouTube's it can be a good source, but again, it can also have lots of nonsense.
right. So
Lots of nonsense.
just use your common sense and I know what you're saying though, but use your common sense. Don't fall for everything. You know what I mean? Because like
Yeah.
me and I invited Mr. Robot to come on. You know, if he wanted to come on, and if he did come on, you'd have heard so much crazy shit. He would have he would have been talking to us about freaking remote viewing and shit, and how freaking Atlanteans are gonna, or how it. Well, actually, V's here. We might still hear
Yeah, I was just
it.
thinking the Robert and Mr. Robot would just drive me absolutely insane.
I don't. I don't think.
Yeah.
You want to know some stuff that'll drive you absolutely insane?
Well,
Watch some of the Black Israelite stuff. And some
I
of
actually,
the African professors and that stuff.
I actually agree with a lot of the stuff they say. I don't think a lot of that is as crazy as what you think it is. Like especially when it comes to the pre-Nubia stuff. Okay, like a lot of people think Nubia,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean, it was the end all of it. But before Nubia was Christian, there was a lot of history there that people don't want to look at. Like people don't want to.
And it's covered up, straight up.
Right. You know, people love to talk about the pyramids of Giza, but they don't want to talk about all of the thousands of freaking smaller pyramids that are all over Nubia. And why are they there? You know what I mean? It's like the connection is pretty
See?
simple if you look at
You're
it.
exactly right.
You know, Like that's not the pyramids aren't a secret. There's no freaking forgotten history, and it's right there in your face. If you go just a little bit south and you look at
Isn't
Nubia,
there forgotten history how they're built? For what purpose?
Four,
Well,
400 pyramids, and there's one famous one is the black 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 pyramid or flat one. It the way it's constructed and all that. It's not built. It's and that's what they call it, the Black Pyramid. And it was the very first one that was built with writing inside of it. And they did a lot of uh, scanned the inside of the pyramids inside of it.
but yeah, I agree on the whole thing with a lot of that stuff. Now, my whole point about when it comes to the whole African thing, when it comes to um, pre-Christian ideas and religions and stuff like that, when it comes to Africa, that's what I always had an issue with about a lot of people. Because see, when I sobered up at a freaking a treatment center called the Amani House, and I know that's Kwanzaa before you even go there. All right, but a lot of those people freaking talked a lot of good sense. And they said that a lot of the traditions and the beliefs that the Africans had was freaking stolen away from them because of Christianity. Okay,
Absolutely.
and that's one thing that really stuck with me. And when I started doing this research, I found out a lot of facts that freaking people don't want to look at. Okay, like when you go in there and you look at freaking the Giza plateau and you look at all these hieroglyphs, why is it all the older freaking hieroglyphs portray the Egyptians as black? Okay, but the newer kingdoms freaking they're always tanned. Well, it's because originally Nubia ruled side by side with Egypt. They were both freaking one country that ruled together before uh freaking the Assyrians invaded.
Nubia, that'd be modern day Ethiopia.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're not the only ones that has the same thing about the church thing. I was watching it on the internet, the in Africa, the church, and some of the people. Well, for what they were talking about, that they followed the thing of some of the tribes of the the oh, what do you call the ones that no one likes. They rather slaughtered them.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
You have to be a lot more specific than that.
Well,
I was like,
Egypt, not Egypt. Uh, I have a. I forgot.
Ethiopia?
No, no, not Ethiopia. It's over in Transylvania. Um,
that's a really
Not in
really
Africa.
the
that's
ones
that's a
that they travel around a lot. They do. Gypsies. Okay.
okay.
Af-
Yeah,
Africa.
Oh,
Some of
Not in
the
Mahoma.
that period.
churches they follow their thing of like what how gypsies how they move around and their way of thinking. In certain ways, they follow
Gypsy, Romanian,
because they were talking
Kingstonian.
about
no,
that.
Oh, no,
no,
that's modern then.
no. It's the ones that are the ones who established Petra. You remember Petra, right? The city of
Yeah.
Petra. Or no, actually, they held the secret of Petra, where its location was, for the longest times. Um, I know who he's talking about. The guy who actually um, brought the Petra to the attention of the world pretended like he freaking wasn't a part of an organization or something, and they actually showed it to him. He had to pretend like he wasn't a journalist, I believe is what it was. And they actually led him to Petra, and that's how he freaking was able to. Because if you, at one time, if you actually knew about Petra, these people would kill you. It was a freaking secret. They didn't want anybody to know it. It was in Jordan. And for the longest time, people didn't know about Petra until like the 1800s. I forgot the name of them. I can pull up the information real quick if you guys want to, but yeah, go ahead. You guys still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just listening.
I was
I'm trying
just
to figure out
wondering
what it
what
is that
you.
you guys are talking about.
Yeah. I'm just wondering.
Well, yeah, I'll run it through to get the names of them because this is an actual interesting the the Badal tribe, the battle. The people who kept the location of Petra a closely guarded secret for centuries were the local Bedouin tribes, specifically the Bedou or the Bedouin tribe, who lived directly within the ancient city's ruins. They protected the site from outsiders until it was famously revealed to the Western world in 1812. And why and how they kept it a secret? Um, the Bedouins deliberately hid Petra out of justifiable fear of Westerners or colonial forces that they would flood the valley, desecrate their ancestral home, or steal suspected treasures. The unique geography of the Wadi Musa region made it incredibly easy to hide. Petra is nested deep inside a mountain valley and can only be accessed through the Syke, a towering, narrow desert canyon. Now, in 1812, Swiss explorer John Ludwig Burckhardt learned about rumors of a massive lost city. To get past the protective locals, he assumed the identity of an Arab traveler named Sak Abraham. He fooled a local Bedouin guide into leading him through the sick by claiming he wanted to sacrifice a goat at the nearby tomb of the prophet Aaron. Now that's another weird thing too. Petra it's less than 100 miles away from the tomb of Aaron, which was the brother of Moses. Just so you know. I've actually gotten into the whole story of Petra. In the original the original translations of the book of or the Amtuat, which is the book of the dead for the Egyptians, okay, which is actually the real name is the Amtuat. It names Petra, and it was changed because archaeologists said that the transcription was wrong because of the dates. But that brings into question for me the actual date of Petra. How old is Petra? Because the first translation says that the tombs, see, whenever they have the entranceway to the pyramids or any tomb, it originally in the old kingdoms they face north. Okay, and then they changed them so that they actually face northeast. And then they changed the direction because of thieves. They would try to hide them so that the thieves couldn't find out how to get into them. But the story goes that originally they were northeast, facing in the direction of Petra. So I did find that kind of interesting when I was doing all that. So it's really weird how we got to Petra on this one.
Well, I have a theory about that, by the way. The Earth, its magnetic poles has shifted a lot. I do believe they may have been originally pointed east, or maybe originally pointed north.
Yeah. Well, that's the way they originally were supposed to be, according to the older tradition of the Egyptians. You know what I mean? The entranceway was always northeast.
But on the poles now, it's changed. That shows that the poles has moved 4 times during the climates.
Have you done any of the latitude research where you can connect like all these important cities across the globe?
Oh, that's what I
How they
found
like?
out on by the TV. That the scientists on Ancient Aliens did it, and that's what
Why do you guys
he
keep bringing
said
up
that.
ancient aliens?
Well, Robert,
Well, that's what I watch.
The scientists, again, I question if they are actual scientists.
well, I do have to say, yes, they are. A lot of the ones that are on there are actually physicists. Um, there's a one that's even well, the guy that does frickin' Skinwalker Ranch, he actually did work for NASA with rocket um, technologies and stuff. If you know who I'm talking about, he's the country
That's
boy.
a weird sort of jump from
He's
physicists.
well, no, I mean he literally worked on rockets and stuff like that for
Yeah,
NASA for like 15
yeah, but
years.
that's a bit of a jump from
Well,
that's going from one different science discipline to another, completely different
not really. Rocket
discipline.
science is actually physics. You just can't freaking build a rocket without physics, dude. It's like
No, but yeah, skin one. Yeah,
you know what I'm
uh,
saying? Yeah,
yeah.
it's like, I mean, come on, dude, think about it. Like these are big freaking rockets. They're not like the old saying was they were just freaking firecrackers that shot you up into space. But being honest, they're not firecrackers firing you up into space. These are like really powerful machines, you know. So yeah, physics is very important, very important. So, but yeah, I mean they are actually scientists.
Well, yeah, like you're a scientist. You still have to think about it, okay? Because you know about computers. You know everything about
Computer
the
science.
matrix of a computer
Hmm.
and programs
Well,
and all
see,
that.
computer scientists, they're snobs, dude. They don't like being called scientists. There's just something
No,
about them.
scientists,
Yeah,
engineers.
No,
but
I mean they don't like it. I'm telling
yeah,
you,
but
like
you
you're
look.
pissing Mark off just by saying it, Robert.
No, no, like,
Well, what? Why I
Well,
say
I
that
mean,
for?
you're right. I'm just messing with you, but it is, and I think that's something that a lot of people don't really take into consideration. Science and computer science, it's still science. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because it's like this. You got to build that rocket and the computer science to both of them. You got to make both work together. Because if you don't,
yeah, but
it's not neither
there's
one's going to work.
there's a big difference. There's a big difference
Well,
between the discipline of physicists, yeah, and
yeah,
computer
well,
I
yeah,
science.
don't know. Wouldn't a more correct term be computer mathematicians?
well. However, but I'm just saying, if you don't find the two, you can't have one. You can't have
Well,
a you
the
can't
the
have a
the
rocket that's working
the
without the
the
computer.
let me just what you're discussing is cross disciplinary things, and scientists have an issue with cross disciplinary things. You know what I mean? Like they don't believe in using science with archaeology, for example. That they like archaeologists a lot of the older ones have a problem with this scientific model shit that they're doing. Like they believe that you should get out there, you should use freaking, um, you should use your
Isn't
hands.
archaeology a science in itself?
No, actually, archaeology is actually linguistics, and linguistics is its own freaking skill. Like,
Yeah,
Isn't
they use satellites.
the
no,
language
linguistics,
a scientific discipline?
li-
It's an etymology,
it's
a
its own discipline.
scientific discipline.
It's its own discipline. Linguistics is its own discipline. Science is its own discipline. Two
Yeah, but
separate things.
Well,
Like a lot
I'm
of
loving the fact they are combining these days because now there's a new field called quantum biology,
mhm.
and I definitely have a few scientists to talk to about what I've discovered about synthetic telepathy. So I'm glad things are crossing over because they need to.
Well, I'm also curious about the ancient DNA. Now, the whole thing that I'm finding hard when it comes to talking to people is when it comes to migration patterns in ancient DNA. Like a lot of people don't want to accept the facts. Like when the DNA freaking says that these people migrated from this point to this point, then I mean, it's hard to disagree with it. When you find a little white girl in the middle of a bunch of people in freaking um what is it
Kenya.
no Genghis Khan came from there.
Oh,
What is it?
I was gonna say you're
Right.
describing the scene for an adult film.
No, what what is it? It's above China. Oh God.
Dude, Genghis
Mongolia.
Khan has,
Mongolia. When you find a
he's a
blonde
real
hair, blue eyed girl in a village in the middle of Mongolia, born there, raised by Mongolian families. Okay, then that should tell you something.
Genghis Khan was a real conqueror. He didn't just take over and kill. He
well,
impregnated everyone he saw. A lot of China is a direct descendants from Genghis Khan. His DNA exists more in the people in the population than anyone else on the planet.
You know, he was the true freaking G.
yeah, well, he
The
did
OG.
fertilize a lot
The
too.
OG in the traditional sense. Well,
Yeah.
the deal with the whole thing with the emerald tablets, those is a lot of the stuff that we've discussed kind of blends into it. You know what I mean? And they don't know where these tablets came from, and they're probably not as precise as what they really should be because you can see where it's been altered from, like when we were talking about the Nag Hammadi. Then you look at like China, like Otto was talking about. You know, you can see Chinese traditions. You can see Buddhism, Hinduism. All of it is in these tablets from ancient days, but they're altered because of time. You know what I mean? Things change. You know, like you can see the syncretism where it just kind of blended into the Christian religion. Basically, is the best way of saying it. But it's there. And I don't believe that freaking a lot of the information was lost. I think that a lot of it was retained, but it was changed. You know, like that they're talking about
Well,
how.
I mean,
I'll go ahead.
when you have the Christian cult, the Catholics, which all the only reason why they gained power is because they tied themselves directly into the governments, the royal families, and they were the chosen cult, and they became the chosen church. And while they try to get rid of of things like other Christian sects like the Gnostics. Um, Catholicism was favored because it was more in line with the government. Okay, mind control. Christianity was being used for mind control instead of teaching people be independent from the system, like Gnosticism does. Gnosticism was not cohesive to society or societies that these governing bodies wanted to have around. So yeah, there's
Just one
changes.
point on that. Just one point on that. I would argue that the government of the time are more in line with the church rather than the other way around. You
What?
stated,
Well, I mean, because
um,
Jesus, okay, he disappeared for 18 years, right? That's
Mm.
because he traveled east. Were sightings of Jesus all the way in China. Okay, Chinese have written a history about Jesus.
Well,
So when he brought all that stuff back,
when it comes to government and religion, though, you need see. This is what I was talking about, where we need to step back and stop trying to relate our world today with what it was back then. Like they didn't differentiate government and religion in those days. It was one and the same thing. Okay,
pretty
yeah,
much,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? So you can't distinguish the government from freaking religion. They didn't see it that way. You know what I mean? Like
well, I mean, but the
now,
government has to adopt a national
right?
religion. I mean,
Well,
the
not
Romans,
technically not
took on
because
Christianity.
the Romans actually was
I would
more.
actually argue
No,
that way.
hold on,
Well, the religion has to adopt a
no,
government,
the Romans
governmental
were
body.
actually more liberal than what the Christians were because, like, when you went into a Roman city, you had 50 different temples that worship 50 different gods.
Well, I mean, that's the thing about the Romans. They actually did accept um, other people's gods. The reason why they had a problem with the Jews and Christians is because they didn't want to play ball. They were being snotty about their own beliefs and didn't want to have their gods to the pantheon of the Romans. So the
Or
Romans
it
said,
could be
"Screw you,
a
then."
30-way thing. It could be because it was with that money and power. Because
No, it was more really as far as the Romans, classical Romans were concerned. It didn't matter what you believed, what God you believed in, as long as you adhered to the Roman rules. So you could believe in
yeah, whatever you want
Zeus,
to.
and you could believe in wherever, but as long it's when you step over that sort of
Yeah.
mechanism of not believing in,
Well, if
not
you don't,
upholding the Roman
yeah,
concepts.
if you don't believe in their God, then that's when you got problems.
No,
No, not
no,
the gods.
that's
More of
my.
the legal systems,
Oh,
more of
No, listen,
their
hey,
taxation systems,
okay.
and that
Well,
sort of thing.
okay.
Robert,
Huh?
that's not what they're saying. No,
Oh, okay.
listen, like they didn't force you to believe in any specific god. The Romans did. You had to follow their laws, follow their mandates, and they didn't care what God you believed in. They actually
They're like
incorporated
the
gods
Freemasons.
into they actually incorporated gods into their freaking pantheon. You've heard of Sybil, right? She was Phoenician. They actually imported Sybil's freaking rock from freaking from what's the name of that country? I was talking about just a little while ago, but they imported it to Rome because they were in the middle of the Trojan War and they felt that stone, the stone of Sybil, would actually be the only thing that could save them from losing the war. Um, but but yeah, I mean they actually incorporated her into their pantheon. You know what I mean? And that was a foreign deity, like Apollo. Apollo wasn't originally Greek or Roman. It was Phoenician.
It's
Um.
wasn't this the problem with as far as Pilate was concerned in the crucifixion of the um, accusations of Jesus? He considered that it doesn't matter if Jesus called himself the Son of God. It is when Jesus claimed himself as a king. a
Yeah.
lord or
Yeah.
king
It was that.
king
Yeah.
figure. Yeah,
Well,
and therefore, um,
I can give you an example of one of these. Asclepius was a combination of a Roman and Egyptian god. And they did this to stop people from having warring states and to incorporate them into the empire.
Yeah. Well, but see, all of them did that. Even the Persians did that. When the Persians drew, when they finally was able to expel the Christians from Jerusalem, okay, freaking Xerxes, I believe, is the one who was the one who was battling. I'm not sure. It could have been another one, but he said he didn't. It didn't matter if freaking it was um, Jerusalem or if it was another city. You know what I mean? It, the whole point of it was is whenever they conquered Jerusalem after freaking the Christians were casted out, the ones that were in power, it didn't matter who they believed in. It was just a matter of that they freaking needed to abide by the Persian rules and regulations.
Who's the one that got rid of all the gods, but they did the sun god? They in Egypt.
Yeah, that was oh, what's his face? He's the one who they always picture him as fun. They always pictured him with a funny body and stuff. I forgot his name. But anyhow, you guys have literally gotten us way off topic. So we've made it to an hour and 6 minutes. So we're gonna go ahead and end this episode, and we'll come back to another topic later on. Um, After this, we will come back if you guys want to. We can do another episode of another show afterwards. We're supposed to do headlines after midnight. If you want to come in and do that with us, more than welcome. But before that, we'll put something together and we'll come back in and get another thing going in about 20 minutes if you guys want to, if you're cool with that.
okay.
But
Yeah, sounds good.
all right.
And just to wrap it up, it's uh, Trismegistus is a combination of three different gods.
Right. Good call. I'm glad you
Okay,
said that. That's actually
Hmm.
true. And
there you go.
at some point I do want to go over freaking ancient alchemy because I think a lot of people get alchemy mixed up with ancient alchemy and they don't realize that they're two separate things altogether. I think I covered a little bit of it this season with this show, but I wasn't able to fully get into it all the way. But I think that would be actually kind of cool because like if you notice in a lot of our conversations with us, we've always gotten into religion in one way or the other. Like I consider even the old pagan beliefs to be religions because they didn't call it freaking mythology. They actually called it their religion. You know what I mean? It was what they believed in. So I don't really like calling it ancient mythologies and shit. I'm just completely against that. They were religions. And I just wanted to kind of go over some of the stuff that they believed in, and like a lot of the modern religions, how they have a lot of alchemy involved in the things they do too, and how people don't really see it because it's just a common thing. So at some point, I'd like to go over that and kind of see what you guys think about it at a later time, of course. But just a few thoughts.
Sounds good.
But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. If you guys like this stream, please like, subscribe, share, make comments below. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I'd like to thank everybody who was here for the show for being here. I appreciate it. And we will be back on here in a little bit. And that I'm going to end the show.